Hey, somebody's got to mow the greens. You have? Excellent. Good morning, afternoon, or evening. You are listening to the Professional Noticer. Hello, everyone. I'm Andy Andrews. Hey, thank you for making me a part of your week. My purpose here today and with every show we do is to play the part of a best friend or a coach. I want to help you live the life of your wildest dreams by giving you access to the greatest mentors the world has to offer today. The Professional Noticer, sponsored this week by our friends at Tucker ATV. Tucker ATV carries every make and model of Polaris ATVs, Echo Power Tools, Hustler lawn equipment, but you need to experience the showroom. Besides the machines there are antique displays, beautiful taxidermy, along with an indoor porch that is just unbelievable, with a porch swing, comfortable chairs, books, free coffee, and a huge television set. Shannon and Lisa Tucker treat customers like family, which is why folks from 14 states do business with Tucker ATV. Visit the Tucker ATV Facebook page or visit Shannon and Lisa in person. The showroom is on Highway 43 North in Jackson, Alabama. Tucker ATV, the small town business with the national reputation. Observations and answers, that's what we do here on the Professional Noticer. And today is a treat. I have a dear friend here who, you know who this is. Nancy was Tiger before there was a Tiger. Golf Digest said that Nancy Lopez is the greatest ambassador for golf and that only Arnold Palmer is her equal. And I've known Nancy just for a long time. She's one of my favorite people. And please welcome Nancy Lopez. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Andy. Thank you. Those are kind words. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you doing this. How are the girls?
They're all grown up, Andy. It just makes me sad. I was with them this past weekend because my third daughter is getting married next year. So we were looking for a wedding dress. So it was a lot of fun and a lot of emotions, a lot of tears. Here's my 29-year-old baby girl getting married. So it was a fun weekend. It was fun to see them and be with them.
That's great. I feel the same way. I mean, my boys aren't married yet, but I look at them, they're both taller than I am, and it's just amazing. So time rushes on, and I know it must be as involved with golf as you still are. Do you still remember winning? I mean, I have always been fascinated that you won the New Mexico State Amateur Championship when you were 12. And so, I mean, what was that like?
Well,
were people just rolling their eyes?
Well, the older ladies didn't like it too much, because here was this little 12-year-old and I was beating them. I felt a lot of pressure right at the very beginning about that because, my dad wanted to give me a chance to play in some tournaments for the experience. And I don't think he ever expected me to win the New Mexico Women's State Amateur at age 12. But I remember it was at the University South course in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And, I loved golf and I loved hitting good shots. And of course, I played a few more events before that, won a few, and some Pee-wee tournaments and junior tournaments, and it was just a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the game. I fell in love with it at age 8. So, age 12, I was old.
Yeah. Now, your dad was hugely instrumental, not just in your life, but in your career. What was your relationship like with him? Was he like a stage parent, or was he just like very laid back?
He was the perfect sports parent because my dad, he loved the game of golf. He owned an auto body repair shop. He did not play professional golf or anything. Loved golf, tried to get out every afternoon to play. And so I just kind of followed him and my mom when I was very young. Because, back in those days, they didn't leave anybody with nannies or babysitters or anything like that. So I just tagged along. And my dad, I wish I had a little bit more of my dad, because nothing was a big deal. Everything's a big deal. I mean, I'm a super severe perfectionist, which is, I always told my daughters, don't be that way, because you're going to be very unhappy, because it makes you crazy. But he was very laid back, loved the game, loved going out on the golf course with me, teaching me and playing golf with me. And he was just the perfect dad. And when I played golf, I didn't feel pressure from my dad. A lot of times sports parents put too much pressure on their kids, because they're either, maybe, I don't know if they're embarrassed that their kids aren't doing better, or they should do better. But, dad was all about, if you're not doing good, let's just go work a little harder. And I encouraged that, because I was like, Dad, I want to win. I want to get better. And he would say, we're just gonna have to go practice some more. So he never made me feel bad if I wasn't successful that day, or if I didn't play well. It was never what I've heard from parents now, why did you do that? What's going on? It was just all about, I know you wanted to do better. Let's just go work a little harder. So I truly believe, Andy, I was successful because my dad didn't put that kind of pressure on me. I was going to fail, and he always told me I would learn from failing. And I think that that's so important for parents, to let their kids fail so they can learn, but always encourage them. And I think that's why I was successful. I was never afraid to fail. After I failed, I picked myself up. My dad was there to pick me up. But after that, I was on my own. And if I failed, I got through it. But I learned how to deal with it. And my dad was always there to give me a lift up, and he never made me feel bad about it.
Right. There's obviously just hours and hours and hours that you spent practicing, but there also is a natural gift. I mean, at 12, you're winning the state championship. I mean, there's got to be some. Did you ever ask him? And you wouldn't have, but I wonder. I mean, did he ever look around and go, this girl is gonna be? I mean, he's out there with a little girl, and you have become the most famous woman in the history of golf. And so, I mean, when did did he even know?
I don't know. I think that my dad had a feeling. Of course, I give a lot of credit to God, because I think I have some God-given talent, like so many other people do. And my dad I think he was kind of preparing for it, because when I was growing up, I sucked my thumb and my teeth were crooked. And he looked at me one day, and even though he really couldn't afford braces, he said, I'm going to and he had this really strong Spanish accent. He was adorable. And he would say, Nancy, we're going to fix your teeth, because one day you're going to be famous. And he wanted me to, of course, smile a lot. But he, I don't know, maybe he felt it, maybe he sensed it. But he really gave me opportunity, because we didn't have a lot of money, and he would work really hard, and he would save money. Like, here's Nancy's pile of money. We're going to send her to a couple of junior events during the summer. And here's money for the household bills. And here's money for my mom. So he was always saving money for something. And I know he put aside money, and he let me choose 2 events I could play during the summertime, because that's about all we could afford, because my mom had to travel with me. And so, it was something he wanted to do. He wanted to work hard to give me that opportunity. And with that, I felt like, I mean, I loved golf, but I wanted to be able to make my dad proud of me, and my mom too, because she sacrificed a lot too, not having things that she could have had to give me golf balls, a golf outfit, little things like that were expensive for us in that day and time.
It is. It's not surprising to me that you are still as grateful as you are about just to your parents. And but but I am. I look at what happens today, and I think, with travel ball and baseball and travel basketball and the constant uh, tournament stuff for golf for young people, and you played two tournaments in a summer.
Yeah.
Wow. And so, what age were you when you when you turned pro?
Well, I turned pro at age 19. I went to Tulsa University for a couple of years. Of course, I felt like, well, a lot of people after high school say, now you need to turn professional, And I really didn't know if I wanted to be a professional golfer. I mean, I loved golf. I played in the Women's US Open when I was 17. I saw, money there, like, big golf bags, and everybody is getting free golf balls from all these different companies. And,
Right.
of course, but there was something about that I would kind of step back and say, are they really happy? Are they really happy with what they're doing? And I think after high school, and people would encourage me to maybe turn professional, I wanted to go to school. I loved school. And of course, Ed, you've met Ed, my husband, he laughs at me because I wanted to get an engineering degree. And he's like, really?
Yeah.
Nancy,
you have way too much personality for an engineering degree.
But I love numbers. Now I can only add my score barely. I mean, it's just when you get brain dead if you don't use that. But I figured if I didn't make money playing golf, I could do something else. And it was more about making money to give my mom and dad a better life, if that makes sense. I wanted to do something for them because they sacrificed, all their life for me.
Yeah. Hey, free golf balls would have been a raise.
Yeah. So I just felt like I wanted to wait. So when I went to Tulsa University, took engineering classes for 2 years. So I was making C's, a lot of C's, and playing on the golf team. We traveled a lot. So I had to have tutors for calculus. I had college algebra, college trig, chemistry. I had all these crazy classes. And then trying to play on the golf team. And finally, they reached out to me, the dean, whoever, and said, you're either going to have to make your grades a little bit better, or you're not going to be able to play on the golf team. And so I was like, well, I called my dad and I said, Dad, I think maybe I don't know if I can do both. I don't think I can get a degree in engineering and play golf. So I think I'd like to try the professional tour. And that's when I decided to turn professional. I'd won a lot of intercollegiate tournaments, and I almost got a little bored with golf during my college days because it was getting to where I was winning a lot of things and I was like looking for something else. And so that's why I decided really to turn professional. So I thought, well, maybe I can get on the tour. And then, of course, as an amateur, you're down here on the totem pole and you try and get up to be number one as an amateur. And then when I turned professional, I knew I was going to be down at the bottom of the totem pole again. And then I was going to have to, hopefully, that first year win one tournament. I just wanted to win one tournament that first year, and I ended up winning 9. So, I reached that goal, and it was nice because I was making money. I bought my dad a few things. My mom unfortunately passed away before I won my first tournament, but I was able to do stuff with my dad. And that was fun. It was really a fun time to be able to give back to him for all that he did for me as I was growing up.
I mentioned at the first that Golf Digest, they said that only Arnold Palmer was your equal as an ambassador to golf. And Golf Digest also said she was Tiger before there was a Tiger. And so think about this. I mean, your rookie year, you come onto the tour, nobody knows who you are, and you win 9 tournaments and 5 in a row. What I mean, were you embraced? Were you shunned? What was that like?
I mean, I was embraced by many people, many things. The LPGA players, some of them were a little jealous of that because I was winning a lot, which was tough because Andy, when you're winning a lot like I was, I mean, I was 20, 21, and you're playing on the LPGA tour and you're winning and you don't know anybody. You don't really get to know the players because you go from practicing and winning straight to the press room. I mean, every day, if I was leading after Thursday's round, I'd be in the press room and I like to talk. So, they kept asking me questions and asking me questions. So I'd stay in there for a good hour plus. Then I'd leave there and I knew I had to practice a little bit. So then I'd practice. And then by the time I got to the locker room, nobody was there anymore. So I think a lot of the players felt like I was stuck up or full of myself. I'm not sure because I never got to know the players very well because I was never in the locker room. I was always in the press room, it seemed like, and on the driving range because I needed to practice after I was done. So I think there was a little bit of jealousy at that time.
That must have been really hard for you because, every time I think of you, I think of something that Polly, my wife, said about you. It was after the first time you guys had met, and Polly, we got back in the car, and Polly said, I don't think Nancy has ever had a bad thought about anybody in her life. She is the sweetest person I've ever met. And so that and you are. I mean, I've been around you a lot, and I've been around you during some difficult times with the career stuff and all. And you can cry with a smile on your face. And so I think about that and you being young and those people who were, they were already entrenched and you just come in and you're just cleaning house.
Well, I think it was hard for me when I would read the negative stuff that sometimes a player would say because I just really knew that wasn't me. And, that I had an attitude about whatever. And like I said, it was just, I never got to meet the players and really got to hang out with them till I started winning less, if that makes sense. Because I won 9 my first year and 8 my second year. So when I really started to be in the locker room more, I got to really know my fellow professionals. I mean, I had friends, but that knew me, but there were a lot of them that didn't know me because I was always out on the golf course practicing or doing something. But I think, as I played with players, they got to know me a little bit. But it was always a competitive person that they knew. They didn't really know me as just a little Hispanic girl that came out on the tour and was just wanting to try and be successful. And I mean, when you're 20, 21 years old and you pretty much have the golf world at your feet, you're like, wow, this is so cool. I'm making money. The sponsors want me to play in every tournament. And this is an example. When I had Ashley, my first, and she's traveling with me on tour, and the sponsors wanted me to be there. There were a lot of little perks. I mean, there were perks like I'd go to my room and that they knew Ashley was with me. They'd have teddy bears and candy and flowers. And when the girls got old enough, because they traveled with me till they were like 6, Ashley and Aaron. Tori was born later, a little bit later on. I looked at them. I said, this isn't the real world. This is not going to happen. When you go into a hotel room, you're not going to have teddy bears and candy.
I can just see they go into a hotel room that's just on family vacation. It's like, where's my teddy bears? Yeah.
Really? I mean, I had to kind of bring them down to earth once in a while because it wasn't going to always be like that. And so, but as at a young age like that, there were a lot of perks of not tournaments, but when I'd go anywhere, they picked me up in a limousine, or, always went to nice restaurants. I mean, I remember the first time I was in New York at the Waldorf. I was getting an award, and I sat down at the table, and I'm looking at all this silverware, like Pretty Woman, the movie. And I'm like, I think I'm going to sit here for a while and watch somebody else pick up their silverware and figure out what I'm supposed to do here. Because that was all new to me. I mean, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was a great time of my life and a great experience. My mom and dad, as an amateur, because when I was getting that award, they got to go to New York, and they went to the Twin Towers, and they got to see a lot of things in my little amateur career that, I got to share with my dad in my professional career, but not my mom.
Right.
So it was fun to do things that, here I came from. I was born in California and grew up in a little town named Roswell, New Mexico, where the aliens landed, supposedly. And so it was like, just going out of the state was a big deal. So now we're in New York, and just the neatest things. And, I just had such a great life with my parents, because I had really great parents. They really wanted me and my sister, who I have a sister who's much older, to be successful in anything that we did. And they wanted to give us that opportunity.
That's awesome. I still, it still is funny to me thinking about your girls and just like a regular day and them being like, "Where's our limo?" So, Mom, the limo's not here.
Yeah.
So there's a limo for school. So in your career, you won 48 tour events, 3 majors, 4 players of the year. But let me just tell you this. I have a shrine here in the studio, and it's right over there, a shrine, a Nancy Lopez shrine. But it's because you're my friend. Now, just that everybody knows who you are, that's just a bonus. But I've got the club where you wrote on the top of it, "Keep your head down, Andy." and I got your golf shoe over here. And I've got here's the one thing I wanted to ask you about. I've got the Solheim Cup flag from the winning team. Now, I don't know if you remember this, but I was at your house when you received the call that you were going to be captain.
In 2005.
Yeah.
Wow, I don't remember that. Wow.
Yeah, and you said, I remember you telling me that we have to keep this totally quiet for a week. This totally quiet. Nobody for a week. Nobody. And
That's
I remember
cool.
telling you, man, in England, they bet on everything. And I could go place a bet on who's going to be the Solheim Cup captain and win this thing now. But
Wow.
so that was I remember you crying. You were so honored and so blown away, and watching you with those ladies at that time. I mean, we've talked about how at the beginning of your career, maybe people didn't know you, or and they were sniping at you a little bit. But at this point in your career, you were revered. I mean, these ladies, it was Meg Mallon, Beth Daniels, Julie Inkster, and they loved you.
Well, those players, I had the best team. It was so much fun. And of course, they all got to really know me as a person, because when you're their captain, you're a captain for 2 years. So you watch those players, you watch what kind of makes them tick, what you need to say to them to get them encouraged that they're going to be okay. And because golf is such an individual sport, and to bring 12 women together as a team was my goal. And so we spent a lot of time together. And it was funny because 2005, I had my cell phone and it was off. I didn't want anybody to call me. If I wanted to call, I'd turn it on. Of course, my daughters were like, Mom, we can't get hold of you. I said, I'll call you. I'll check. I just didn't like technology in that way.
Right.
So the LPGA called me and they said, Nancy, you're going to have to keep your phone on and you have to put a voicemail on there. And I'm like, really? I do? Why? I just didn't want to do that. So, but as a captain, when I watched my players, I watched everything. I was either there or I wasn't there. And then I never texted them and I didn't send them emails. I called them. And I wanted them to hear my voice when I said, great win, or keep it up, or go get them tomorrow. I never texted them or emailed them, like I said, because it wasn't personal to me. So I wanted to really get close with my players in that way. And I had a lot of events. I had a lot of dinners planned. I had dinners with the younger generation of players I thought might make the team because I wanted to see how they were together. If they would, make the team better, if they would fit in. And then I had a meeting with like Julie and Beth and Meg, some of the other Rosie Jones, to find out because they played in a lot of Solheim Cups, what they did and didn't like. And then I'd have dinners with all of them together because for some reason, as an individual competitor in golf, you don't always like other players. Right. So I wanted them to find something they liked about the player that might be on their team. So I had all these events all the time and I'd call them like, you're coming to dinner, right? They couldn't say no, but they're going to say no. If you email or you text, they can say no easier. So I'm like, you're coming, right? And they all, sure. Yes, Captain. So I got them to come to everything I invited them to. So that was important. And to me, after 2 years, this team loved each other. And so they really rooted hard for each other as a team competing in the Solheim Cup.
Now, there's something I want you to comment on before we get to that actual event, because you taught me something that I have never forgotten, and I still use this with clients, with athletes. I still use this. But you had your captain's picks to make, right? You had 2 captain's picks. And I was it was a practice day in a tournament, and I was in the golf cart with you. And we're riding around, and you're watching several people, and you're deciding on your captain's picks. And I remember pulling up behind this young lady, and she stood over the ball, and then she sensed something, and she looked up, and there's Nancy Lopez, and she goes, "Oh, hi." And you said, "Don't mind me, hit it." And so she did. And man, it was like 18 inches to the hole. I mean, it was a great shot. And you said, "Great shot." And so you talked to her for a minute or so, and then we pulled away, and you kind of went, And I said, "What?" She said, "I like her." You said, "I like her so much, but I can't pick her." And I said, "Why not?" And you said, "She can't play on Sunday." And I said, "What does that mean?" And you told me there's 150 players on the tour, and there's not a dime's worth of difference in them physically. They can all make every shot. But on Sunday, when the tournament when it's down to it, it's the mental part of it that makes the difference. And I've never forgotten that. I've never forgotten that. And that has helped me in what I do. That has helped me help kickers and shooters and a few golfers, even though I can't play.
Well, it's important, Andy, because I know when I played on my first Solheim Cup, or the first Solheim Cup in 1990 at Lake Nona, I had already won probably about 15 tournaments, and Pat Bradley, who was my partner on the first day of the first Solheim Cup, because we're going to the Solheim Cup. We don't, what is it really going to be like? But you're playing for your country. And Pat had probably won about the same amount of tournaments. We were both tournament winners, and we're teeing off. We're the first group to tee off in the first Solheim Cup. And, now in the Solheim Cup, there's strategy, who's going to hit off first, who's going to hit into the odd holes, who's going to putt. A lot of strategy. Well, we didn't know strategy. It was just, we're playing for our country, and we're scared to death. So we get on the first tee, no strategy. I look over at Pat and I said, "Pat, how are you feeling?" She goes, I feel nervous." She looks at me. She goes, "How are you feeling?" I said, "I feel nervous." She says, "Do you want to hit?" "No, you hit." "No, you go ahead and hit." That was our strategy. So she ended up hitting. We were scared, but we wanted to make our country proud of us. And the pressure that you feel in the Solheim Cup is nothing, not even close to even an LPGA event that you're trying to win. There's a big difference. There's all this energy, and there's this pride, and just so many feelings you don't feel as an individual player on the LPGA Tour, but now you're playing for your country. And I knew what it was like, and I knew that, the players that I felt could really handle that. And I had a lot of veterans on my team that I felt were intimidating. Beth Daniels, one of the most intimidating players you'll ever see. She's a great player, but intimidating. Then you have Julie and Meg, great player, and Rosie Jones. And we always called her a little bulldog because you could put her anywhere and she'd beat somebody. She was just tough. So I needed to find that in the other players that were playing, because Paula Creamer and Natalie Galbus, it was their first Solheim Cup, but they were star players during that time.
I remember. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just, now that you mentioned Paula Creamer and Natalie Galbus, I remember, I came in that first day, and it was like the Golf Channel, CBS, ABC, NBC, ESPN. And then at the end of the day, you guys were down, and I was hearing these people criticize my friend, Nancy. They're criticizing you for playing the rookies early. You remember this?
Yes, I do.
And what did you say?
They were my best players. Had to play them. I had to get them ready for the weekend. They had to feel the pressure. They had to go in there early because, like I said, Paula was playing great that year. Natalie was playing great. They were my strongest players, so I had to put them to the test. And they had to feel the pressure, because when you come to the weekend, there's a lot of pressure. And that for that first day, alternate shot for the U.S. has always been tough. But I think if I can remember point wise, we were the least behind of all the teams up to that point in alternate shot, because we were always way behind after alternate shot in most Solheim Cups. But they had to get used to that. And when I had practice rounds in those 2 years, we practiced alternate shot every time. We didn't just, because I knew they could play individually, but alternate shot was tough for all those players. And so, we were behind, but not as far as all the other teams have always been behind. So I felt pretty good about it.
I remember you asked me to talk to them I think it was after the second night. But you asked me to talk to them, and I remember going down into this room, and I don't know what I was expecting. I've talked to teams before. I've talked to, audiences before, and so Nancy wants me to talk to the team. Okay, so first thing I noticed is I'm a guy, and I don't know what I was expecting, but these ladies come in and they're out of the shower and they've got their hair in towels like Polly does when she gets out of the shower. And I'm, I'm like, okay. And they were mad. Do you remember this? About how mad they were at Annika Sorensen? I mean, they were mad. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they've got wet hair and they're mad. And Nancy wants me to talk to them. Oh my God. But I remember saying something like, look, I can't tell you anything about playing golf because I can't really play. Nancy laughs at me, but I can remind you some things that you already know. And I remember saying several times, it's not how you start. Nobody cares how you start. They're not going to even remember how you start. They're only going to remember how you finish. And
that was a perfect message.
Well, I remember getting the newspaper that had them talking about that, about nobody cares how we start, they only care how we finish. And you guys finished. I mean, you beat Europe. It was awesome.
And you did a great job. You did just what I wanted you to.
With the women with the wet hair and mad. It's like, golly. I mean, that stands out to me in whatever we laughingly refer to as my career. That stands out to me as one of the weirdest audiences. All their hair up, they're in hotel bathrobes and sitting there like this, and some of them cussing about Annika, and oh my gosh.
Yeah, and Nancy, they loved you. They thought you were great because they came up and complimented you and told me that. It was great because I knew you could do what I needed you to do. And I know, you were in the players' lounge is where you were, where the players always gather. But yeah, I mean, I just knew you would give them a good message, and you did just that. So it was great.
Well, I've got the Solheim Cup flag signed by all of you guys, and it's over here in my Nancy Lopez shrine that people look at and here in the studio. And so, Nancy, let me ask you this, and just kind of closing out here, what would you say if you could have a phone call with your 19-year-old self right now? After you've experienced all you've experienced, what would you say to that young woman?
I would say to me as a 19-year-old to be the best you can be, because life is short. Give as much as you can to everybody to make this world a better place. And I get emotional about that, Andy, because I was really lucky, as a young person to have great parents. Not everybody has that, but to look at me as a 19-year-old, that's what I know my dad wanted me to be, was someone that was good to people, enjoy your life, figure out why God put you on this earth. Because you can be successful, and it doesn't mean you have to have money. Just be successful in love and friendship, and making people smile. That's what I would tell myself as a 19-year-old, to enjoy your life, because we're so blessed to have a chance to live in the United States of America and have really a good life. Set goals high. I would have told myself that too. Set them high, reach for them, and hopefully you'll be able to reach them. But to me, it's all about, life and being good to each other. And I would have told myself to do that, because when you lay your head down on a pillow at night, you want to lay your head down with a smile and wake up with a smile every morning.
Right. So what do you think is a lesson that you learned along the way that has kind of surprised you, that stuck with you, the one that you weren't expecting to learn?
It's just, I think as you get older, you see a lot of things that you didn't see as a young person. And as I get older, I'm a little disappointed, I guess, which really bothers me because I don't want to be disappointed. But I guess when you're young, you don't see a lot of things that aren't nice anymore. But as you get older, you realize, wow, this has been going on for a long time. and it just, I wish I could save the world, Andy. I really do. Wish I could, reach out to people and make them feel better. Reach out to all those homeless people and all those people coming across the border. And I don't want to be political. Just wish I could make everybody's life better.
Well, you have made my life better. And
thank you.
I know a bunch of people that you have made their life better. And you're one of those people that has made life better for a lot of people that have not had the honor and pleasure of meeting you. And so, you continue to do a great job. I mean, I know that Ed's at the golf course right now, and you're here talking to me. And so I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. And I think our listeners and our viewers are really going to appreciate that too. This has been an awesome time, and I really appreciate you sharing it with us.
Well, thanks, Andy. I love you, and say hi to Polly and the kids. And you're just a good soul too. Whenever I think of somebody good, I think of you, and I appreciate your friendship.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Okay. Take care.
I'm Andy Andrews, the professional noticer, harnessing common sense and wisdom to plow through challenges all the way to an answer for you. And I think that'll do it for this week. Get us out of here, Matthew. So, ladies and gentlemen, and to the boys and girls who aspire to become ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of another episode of The Professional Noticer. In a world where common sense has become a superpower, I'm harnessing that tiny bit of mental energy I have for you, seeking wisdom, making observations, and endeavoring to answer tough questions in a way that will empower your family and your business. I'm Andy Andrews. Until next week, goodbye. This episode of The Professional Noticer was produced by Matt Limpert. The Noticer theme written and performed by Sugarcane Jane. Saddle Oxfords with Spikes provided by Twinkle and Smoke of Beverly Hills. Additional financial consideration provided by PersonalLightningProtection.com. Are there thunderstorms where you live, work, and play? Of course there are. But the thunder only sounds scary. It's the lightning that'll get you. Yes, friends, lightning is dangerous and should be avoided if at all possible. What, however, does one do in the event it is not possible to avoid being out in the open when a lightning storm is approaching? Put your personal lightning protection plan into use. Whether you're on the golf course or at the beach, personal lightning protection will keep you safely out of reach of any lightning strikes. Personal lightning protection is a simple steel-shafted 2-iron, the one club usually left out of a golfer's bag and rarely, if ever, found at the beach. But this 2-iron is a lifesaver. In the event of advancing lightning, simply hold personal lightning protection steel-shafted 2-iron high over your head and you'll remain perfectly safe. That's PersonalLightningProtection.com, because not even God can hit a 2-iron.